Are you feeling stuck right now in your job, a relationship, or just life in general? Then this might be the most important thing you read all year. I'm about to show you a single shift in perception that can rewire your entire reality. And I'm not just going to explain it. I'm going to guide you into feeling it, right here. Do not click away. Something in your field already knows what I am about to share. I am not talking about your thinking mind, which is probably skeptical and getting ready to dismiss this. I am talking about the part of you that exists beyond thought, beyond belief, beyond the physical body you have been taught to call you. That part of you has been waiting for this. The fact that you found this right now out of all the possible moments means you are ready to remember something you have always known, but were conditioned to forget. You are not the body reading these words. You are the energy bringing it to life. Let that idea sit for a moment. Do not try to understand it with your mind. Feel it. Notice what happens inside you when you consider that everything you were taught about who you are might be completely backwards. If this is already starting to click for you, I want you to type in the comments, "I am not my body." Let me know you're here, and you get it. From the moment you were born, you were taught to identify with physical stuff. Your name was given to a body. Your story was built from memories stored in your brain. Your identity was built from the roles you play, the relationships you have, and the things you own. Look around you right now. Everything you see seems solid, separate, and permanent. The walls, the furniture, the device you are using, your own hands, your own body, all of it presents itself as dense, unchanging matter. But here is what they do not teach you in school. What most people never realize: matter is not what it seems to be. Scientists discovered this over 100 years ago. When you look at matter at its most basic level, when you look closer and closer at what things are actually made of, something shocking happens. There is nothing solid there. It is not empty in a simple way, but pure energy, vibrating at specific speeds. This vibration creates the illusion of solidity through pattern and repetition. That table that seems so solid is 99.999% empty space, with tiny particles moving so fast, they create the feeling of density. Your body, which feels so real and permanent, is the same. It is a temporary pattern of energy, constantly trading atoms with the world around it, completely replacing itself every few years. Yet it maintains the illusion of being a fixed, separate thing. But we are not taught to experience ourselves this way. We are taught to be the body, to protect it, to identify with its limits, to believe that when it stops, we stop. This identification with matter is the root of every limitation you experience. Not because matter is bad, but because it is not what you actually are. When you mistake yourself for something you are not, you take on all the limits of that false identity. If you're ready to drop the old story of being solid matter, write in the comments, "I release the density." This is your first declaration of energy. I want you to try something right now. Look at a solid object near you. It could be your phone, a coffee cup, or a book. Your immediate perception says, "This is solid. This is matter. This is real." Now consider what's actually happening. That object is made of molecules. Those molecules are made of atoms. Those atoms are mostly empty space, with a tiny nucleus and electrons whizzing around it so fast that they create the illusion of a solid surface. The chair you're sitting on, the air you're breathing, the light entering your eyes, all of it is energy vibrating at different speeds. The only reason your finger doesn't pass right through that object is because their electromagnetic fields repel each other, creating the sensation of contact, of solidity, of separation. But separation is the illusion. At the most basic level, everything is connected. Everything is part of the same unified field, expressing itself in endless forms. You have probably heard the words energy, frequency, vibration. They are spiritual buzzwords that have lost their meaning. But I am not sharing this as a philosophy or a belief. I am pointing you toward the direct recognition of what you actually are, beneath the story your mind tells. Because something extraordinary happens the moment you shift your main identity from matter to energy. Reality, which has been responding to you as if you were a fixed, limited, separate thing, suddenly has to reorganize itself around a completely new fact. Can you feel the truth of this? If you can feel that separation is the illusion, type in the comments right now. I am connected to everything. 3 years ago, I was sitting with my mother in a doctor's office, listening to test results that made no medical sense. 6 months earlier, she had been diagnosed with a progressive condition. The doctors were clear. Management was the goal, not reversal. It was a slow, degenerative path. But her new scans told a different story, one of dramatic improvement, of healing that defied their charts and expectations. The doctor was baffled, using words like unprecedented and anomaly. He looked from the scans to my mother and back again, unable to reconcile the evidence with his prognosis. But I knew because 3 months before that appointment, something fundamental had shifted in her. It didn't come from a new medicine or a radical diet. It came from a quiet collapse of a story she had held for a lifetime. She had been struggling, not just with her health, but with a deep feeling of being trapped by her age, by her body, by her past. Then, during a simple, quiet moment in her garden, she later told me it happened. It wasn't loud or dramatic, it was a gentle giving way. She said she was looking at a bird, and suddenly, the solidity of her own body just softened. The boundary between her and the air, the sound of the leaves, the life of the bird, simply vanished. She wasn't a separate woman with a failing body sitting in a garden. She was the garden. She was the warmth, the light, the movement. She felt herself as a fluid, vibrant energy, temporarily wearing the shape of mom, patient, elderly woman. Those labels felt like thin costumes over an infinite, ageless aliveness. That recognition lasted for only a few minutes. But it was enough. The dense identity she had carried, the identity of a body breaking down, had cracked. She had experienced, directly, what she was beneath the story. And from that moment, her physical form began to reorganize itself, following the new, deeper truth her consciousness had recognized. Does this story show you what's possible? If you believe your energy can heal you, type in the comments, "My energy creates my reality." Now you might be wondering, how does this apply to my daily life? What I'm about to share next is the practical key. But the most important part is what comes right after that, where I guide you through a simple process to feel this for yourself. So stay with me, because that's where the real change happens. Let me explain what actually happens when you shift from identifying as matter to recognizing yourself as energy. I mean the real, measurable physics, not a spiritual metaphor. Your body is constantly receiving instructions from your consciousness about how to organize itself. Every cell has receptors that respond to the signals your brain makes, based on your thoughts, emotions, most importantly, your fundamental sense of identity. When you identify as matter as a fixed physical form with limits, your cells get that message and organize accordingly. They turn certain genes on and others off. They age at a certain speed. They respond to life in predictable patterns. You are not consciously telling your cells what to do, but your deepest sense of what you are is always broadcasting, and your body listens. Scientists have discovered that gene expression can change dramatically based on your perception, beliefs, and emotional state. The same genes can produce completely different results depending on the signals the cell gets from consciousness. But here is what they are only beginning to understand. The most powerful signal is not what you think or believe about yourself. It is what you fundamentally identify as. When you identify as dense matter, you broadcast a frequency that reinforces density. Your cells organize around permanence and protection. Change becomes slow and difficult, requiring great effort. But when you recognize yourself as energy, something shifts at the most basic level. Your cells get different instructions, not through willpower, but through the natural reorganization that happens when consciousness remembers its true nature. Suddenly, patterns that seemed fixed become fluid. Limits that seemed permanent reveal themselves as temporary expressions of energy that can rearrange into new forms. This is not magic. This is physics that medical science is only starting to understand, because it requires admitting that consciousness is fundamental, and that identity shapes biology more than biology shapes identity. If you're ready to send a new signal to your cells, declare it in the comments. I choose to broadcast energy. You are probably wondering what this looks like in real life. Recognizing yourself as energy sounds abstract, disconnected from paying bills and dealing with relationships. But the shift is anything but abstract. It changes everything about how you move through reality, though not in the ways you might expect. The first thing you notice is that resistance dissolves, not because you practice non-resistance, but because resistance is a function of believing you are a separate, solid thing that life happens to. When you identify as matter, you experience life as a series of impacts. Things happen to you. The world is full of threats and obstacles that your solid, vulnerable form must navigate. But when you recognize yourself as energy, the basic dynamic changes. You are not a separate thing that life happens to. You are continuous with the same field that is producing all the circumstances, people, and experiences. Challenges do not disappear, but your relationship with them transforms. Instead of solid resistance meeting solid obstacle, there is fluidity and natural movement around whatever is happening. People call this flow, but that word does not capture the actual physics. You are literally experiencing reality from a different position, not as separate from the field, but as the field temporarily focusing itself into your perspective. The second thing that shifts is your relationship with time. When you identify as matter, you inherit time's straight line. The past shapes you through memory. The future creates anxiety. The present is where you are trapped, trying to move from a past you want to escape toward a future you hope to reach. But energy does not experience time the way solid matter seems to. Energy exists in what scientists call non-local correlation. Everything interconnected across space and time, all at once. When you recognize yourself as energy, you do not lose the ability to function in linear time, but you are no longer completely subject to it. Past patterns that seemed permanently carved into you reveal themselves as current energy configurations that can shift. Future possibilities that seemed impossible become present potentials you can feel now. This is why spontaneous healing happens. Why sudden life changes occur that seem impossible given your history. Why synchronicities multiply. Not because you learned to manipulate reality, but because you stopped experiencing yourself as a fixed point in a timeline and started experiencing yourself as energy that exists across multiple times at once. If you're ready for that flow state, type in the comments, "I am in the flow." Now, we move from theory to your direct experience. This is the most important part of this entire video, so I need you to do something for me. Pause this video right now. Find a place where you won't be interrupted for just 1 minute. This isn't something to watch passively. It's something you must feel for yourself. I'll be right here when you unpause. Go ahead. Welcome back. You've taken the first step. Now let's begin. Close your eyes if it's safe. If not, just soften your gaze and let your attention turn inward. Notice that you are aware. Do not think about awareness. Just notice that you are aware of reading these words. Aware of your body, aware of sounds, aware of thoughts. Now notice that this awareness is not located in any particular place. You might feel like awareness is in your head, behind your eyes. But if you look for it directly, you cannot actually find awareness anywhere specific. It is not an object in space. This awareness is not produced by your brain. Your brain is something you are aware of. The awareness itself is not inside the matter of your body. The body is inside awareness, appearing as sensation, as image, as concept. Stay with this recognition. You are not the body you are aware of. You are the awareness the body appears in. Now notice the energy of being alive. Not the concept of energy, but the actual felt sense of aliveness in your system. There is a vibration, a movement, a current that is animating this form. You can feel it if you are still enough. That aliveness, that energy, that vibration, that is what you actually are. Not the temporary form it is moving through. Not the story your mind tells about that form, but the living energy itself. And notice that this energy is not contained by your skin. The sensation you call my body is energy. The sensation you call air on my skin is energy. The sensation you call sounds around me is energy. All of it is the same field, vibrating at different speeds, creating the appearance of separation, of inside and outside, of me and not me. But at the level of direct experience, before thought labels and divides everything, there is just energy moving, expressing itself in endless forms. And you are that. Not you have that, you are that. Open your eyes. Notice that nothing has changed in your external circumstances, but something has shifted in your direct experience of what you are. That shift, however subtle, is the beginning of everything else changing. What did you feel in that moment? Whatever it was, own it. Type in the comments right now. I am energy. I have no boundaries. Your mind might be skeptical of everything I am sharing. That is fine. The mind is designed to maintain familiar patterns, to protect the known self, to resist dissolving into something that feels threatening. But your body already knows this truth. Your body has always known it. Every time you have felt chills during a powerful moment, that is your body recognizing energetic resonance. Every time you felt someone's presence before you saw them, that is your body reading energy before your mind processes matter. Every time you have had a gut feeling that proved accurate, that is your body accessing information through energetic connection. Your body is an energy reading instrument, far more sophisticated than anything science has built. It can detect energy fields and subtle vibrations that your thinking mind dismisses as imagination. But you have been taught to trust your thinking mind over your feeling body, to prioritize analysis over intuition, to believe the story about reality rather than the direct experience of it. This is the conditioning that keeps you locked in matter identification. Because if you trusted your body's direct experience, you would recognize immediately that the density you see is not what you feel, that the separation you perceive is not what you experience. Children know this instinctively, before they are taught otherwise. They experience their bodies as energy, fluid, changing, magical, unlimited by the rules matter supposedly follows. Then they are taught, you are your body. This physical form has specific limits you must accept. Gradually, their energy condenses into matter identification, and the fluidity disappears. They become adults who have forgotten what they actually are. But the body never forgets. The energy never stops being energy. It just gets covered over by layers of conditioning, belief, and identification with the material surface. If you're ready to trust your body's wisdom over your mind's doubts, type in the comments, I trust my energy. Now I need to share something that will sound impossible, unless you have experienced it directly. But since you are still reading, since something brought you this far, you are ready to hear it. The moment you genuinely recognize yourself as energy, rather than matter, reality around you immediately begins to reorganize. Not gradually, not eventually, immediately. Because reality is not fixed, solid, or separate from your consciousness. Reality is the quantum field collapsing into specific shapes based on observation, and the observer's fundamental identity determines what shapes become available. When you observe reality as a separate material being, certain possibilities exist and others remain impossible. Physical laws seem fixed. Change requires time and effort. Circumstances have weight and momentum that resist alteration. But when you observe reality as energy recognizing itself through this temporary form, the entire framework shifts. Possibilities that were impossible suddenly become available. Physical laws reveal themselves as statistical probabilities, not absolute rules. Change can happen instantly because you are no longer trying to rearrange solid matter. You are allowing energy to reorganize into different patterns. I have watched this happen in my own life repeatedly, since my mother's recognition, not through willpower, but through natural reorganization. Financial situations that seemed hopelessly stuck suddenly resolved through unexpected channels. Relationships that felt permanently damaged spontaneously healed without any conversation. Health conditions reversing themselves in ways doctors call miraculous, but are simply energy returning to natural patterns once limiting identity dissolves. The skeptical mind will always find other explanations: coincidence, the placebo effect, confirmation bias, and you can believe that if you need to maintain your matter identification. But direct experience tells a different story. When you recognize yourself as energy, reality recognizes you differently and responds accordingly. If you're ready for your world to reorganize, claim it now. Type in the comments, "My reality is shifting now." You have probably met people who move through reality differently. Not necessarily more successful or happier, but there is something about their presence that feels lighter, more fluid, as if they are not quite as dense as everyone else. These people might not talk about energy or consciousness. They may not have any spiritual practice or know these concepts, but they have somehow naturally maintained or rediscovered the recognition of themselves as energy rather than pure matter. Watch how they handle challenges. There is no heavy resistance, no solid tension against what is happening. They flow around obstacles the way water flows around rocks, not through positive thinking, but through the simple absence of the density that creates resistance. Watch how circumstances organize around them. Opportunities appear. Resources show up. The right people arrive at the right time, not because they are lucky, but because their energy field broadcasts coherence, and the quantum field responds to coherence by organizing supportive patterns. Watch how they hold their bodies. There is a relaxation that does not come from stress reduction techniques. Their forms express energy that is moving through, not trapped inside. They do not look rigid or defended. They look like energy temporarily shaped into human form. These people are proof that what I am sharing is not theory. They are living examples of what naturally happens when consciousness stops identifying exclusively with dense material form. And here is the interesting part. Most of them cannot explain how they do it, because they are not doing anything. They are being what they actually are, and reality responds to that being with flow, ease, and synchronistic support. You can learn all the techniques and methods in the world, but if your fundamental identity remains matter rather than energy, those techniques will feel like trying to polish a stone into light, effort, friction, limited results. But shift the identity itself, recognize what you actually are, and everything else becomes natural expression, not forced achievement. If you see yourself becoming one of these people, declare it. I am a flow master. Write it in the comments. I am not going to tell you what to do with this recognition, not because I am withholding information, but because doing is the wrong approach. You do not do energy identification. You relax into it. You allow it. You stop clinging so tightly to the matter story and notice what is already here underneath. Some of you are already feeling it as you read these words. A lightness, an opening, a sense of boundaries dissolving slightly. That is not your imagination. That is your direct experience, recognizing truth before your thinking mind can categorize it. Others are still resisting, still locked in the skepticism that protects matter identification. That is fine too. The recognition happens when it happens. Forcing it just creates more density. But I will tell you what naturally occurs as this recognition deepens. Not as a prediction, but as a description of what simply unfolds when energy recognizes itself. Your relationship with fear transforms. Not because you overcome fear, but because fear is a product of believing you are a vulnerable, solid thing that can be destroyed. When you know yourself as energy, temporarily focused into form but never limited to it, fear loses its foundation. Your physical vitality increases without effort. The density that creates fatigue dissolves. Energy flows through rather than getting trapped, and your body expresses that flow as natural vitality. Your ability to manifest accelerates dramatically, not because you learned better techniques, but because you are no longer trying to rearrange solid matter through force of will. You are allowing energy to reorganize into shapes that match the frequency you are broadcasting. And energy reorganizes much faster than matter seems to. Your intuition becomes reliable, accurate, and immediate, because you are receiving information through energetic resonance, not filtering everything through mental analysis. The field speaks directly to the field. Most significantly, the existential anxiety that colors most human experience simply dissolves. That anxiety is rooted in the terror of being a separate, vulnerable material form in a threatening universe. But when you know yourself as the field itself, temporarily experiencing itself through this form, the entire premise of that anxiety is revealed as false. If you feel your path opening up right now, type in the comments, "I am walking my new path." I want you to make a statement right now. Not to me, not to the universe, but to yourself, to the deepest level of your own consciousness that has been waiting for this recognition. Say it inside your mind, or out loud if you can. I am not this body. I am the energy animating it. I am not confined to matter. I am consciousness experiencing itself in form. I release identification with density and recognize my true nature as living energy, temporarily expressed, but never limited. Feel what happens as you make that statement. Do not analyze it. Do not question whether you really believe it. Just notice what shifts, however subtly, in your direct experience of being alive right now. That shift, that small opening, is the beginning of everything I have described. Not the end, but the beginning. The first crack in the density that has been hiding your actual nature. You do not have to maintain this recognition constantly. That would just create a new form of trying. But once the crack appears, once you have had even a glimpse of what you actually are beneath the matter story, that recognition never completely leaves. It becomes a place you can return to, a depth you can drop into, a truth you can remember, even when the surface of your life gets caught in drama and density again. And each time you return to it, the recognition deepens, stabilizes, and integrates more fully, until it is no longer something you do or remember. It simply becomes how you experience being alive. Make your declaration public and powerful. Type in the comments right now, "I am energy." Let's bring this all together. You learned that the solid world is an illusion, and you are the conscious energy behind it. You saw real-world proof that this shift creates tangible change. And most importantly, you just felt it for yourself. That feeling, however subtle, is the key. Your only job now is to trust that feeling over the old story of being solid and separate. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of your new reality. Now, I have a request. I want you to go down to the comments and type one word, just one word, that describes what you felt during the exercise. Was it peace, lightness, connection, or something else? Sharing this locks in the experience for you and shows others this is real. And for everyone who is committed to living from this new energy, I want to see you declare it. Type this exact phrase in the comments. I choose to create my reality with my energy. If this opened a new door for you and you want to go deeper, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We explore this new way of being every week, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Remember, reality bends not to your will, but to your recognition of what you actually are, and you are remembering now. Have a nice day, my friend.